Every day, millions of people prepare meals without realizing that some common cooking practices may be silently reducing the nutritional value of their food. Could overcooked vegetables be losing essential vitamins? Is reheating food again and again affecting its quality? What happens when cooking oil is reused repeatedly? And are food additives always as harmless as they seem? These are the questions at the heart of today's discussion.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be here this evening. My name is Dr. Aderiola Awoni from Biochemistry Department, Federal University of Technology, Akure, and my area of specialization is food and nutritional biochemistry. So most of the time you see me on this program talking about food, nutrition. So that's just my flair. This afternoon, I'll be speaking on the topic food processing and cooking practices, hidden threats to nutrition and well-being. And the main focus of this study is we want to look at how we process our foods, or probably some practices, cooking practices that we get involved in. How do this impact nutrient retention? Are we losing nutrients? Are we preserving the nutrients? And sometimes we might even be surprised that while processing our foods, we are also generating some toxic compounds, which can cause which can be harmful to our health. So this evening, that will be the main focus. Now, this question pops up. Does how we cook matter? Does it really matter? Some people will say, oh, Shebika Johnny. They just want to eat, and they are not bothered about the process that food passes through. All they want is that their tummy should be filled. But it should really matter, because that is what will determine. Sorry, please. Okay. Oh, I hope you can see this. My slides.
Yes, sir. Yes. Please go on, ma'am.
All right. So, does it really matter how we cook our food? Yes. It does. It matters.
Please, do you want to make it a full screen, if you don't mind?
Okay. Let me make it a full screen.
Thank you.
Okay. So,
yep.
It's so critical. Food processing is so critical because it is what will determine the nutritional quality of the food we are eating, and eventually, on the long run, determine the health outcomes and the nutrients we're actually taking in. And these are reasons why cooking matters. We have the benefits, we have the risk that are associated with cooking. For the benefits, when you cook your foods, the intention most of the time is to improve digestibility of the nutrients, proteins, starches, and so on. And also, cooking can increase bioavailability of secondary metabolites. That's foods that are not the basic nutrients, proteins, nutrients that are not basic nutrients, protein, carbohydrate, fats. That's what I mean by secondary metabolites. Other chemicals that are present in the plant, when you cook them, it can increase their bioavailability, like carotenoids in carrots, lycopene in tomatoes. It's known that they are more bioavailable when cooked. Then cooking destroys pathogens and anti-nutrients. Anti-nutrients, they are substances found in our food that will not allow the absorption of nutrients. So when you cook, these anti-nutrients are removed in the process of in the food processing, because sometimes it involves fermentation, cooking, and all those kind of boiling and all those processes. So it helps to reduce the anti-nutrients, and then the nutrients will be available to the body. And lastly, it enhances the palatability of that food and its food safety. I'm sure most foods that we eat, if it's not palatable, we wouldn't venture into eating them. So those are the benefits. Now, the risk of cooking. In the process of cooking, you might discover that you have actually destroyed some nutrients or vitamins that are heat liable. That means they are easily affected by heat. Vitamins like vitamin C, B1, folate. Then it could, the process of cooking can lead to the formation of acrylamide and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, like when we roast foods or especially in open smoke. All these compounds can be formed and they can impact our health. Then also oxidative damage could result from high heating of oil and reuse of oil, loss of water, soluble nutrients during boiling, and so on. So these are the risks of cooking. So the cooking practices, it's like a double-edged sword, whereby you have the benefits and also the risks that are there. That's the same heat that will neutralize toxins and remove pathogens and even improve digestion can also at the same time degrade some very important nutrients, especially the micronutrients. And sometimes it can even generate some harmful compounds. Now, sometimes we add, in the process of cooking, we add additives to our food. Additives like potash. Let me use that example. In Yoruba, for those of us that are Yoruba speaking, we call it kan, or some call it akan. And most of the time when we use this, the intention is to reduce the cooking time. Oh, I want these beans to cook fast. Or sometimes you add it to vegetables like ewedu to increase the texture, to soften it on time and even increase the texture. Because, for those of us in this part of the world, we always like that slimy texture of ewedu, and because of that we add it. But what it does is that it raises the pH of that when you add it to the food you are cooking. It will raise the pH, increase the alkalinity of that cooking of the vegetable, and in the process you can lose nutrients because of this. And like foods like ewedu, to me, some people will say that when you use these additives in minute quantities, they might not really have effect. Some use ewedu, some use what's it called, sodium sodium bicarbonate. Yes, that if you use it in very little quantity, it might not really destroy the nutrients in the vegetable. But I would say the best way, to be safe, is better you just don't add any of this. You can still cook your ewedu. No, for those of us that do not know what, that ewedu is Cocorus ovitorius, for those of us that are not in this part of the world. And you can actually cook it without adding any of these additives. All you need to do is to blend it and cook for a few minutes. And with that, you are sure that the nutrients are still retained instead of adding additives. While cooking beans also, you don't need to add potash, because all these will eventually affect the nutrients. You might not be sure of the quantity that will be appropriate and wouldn't be affecting the nutrients in the food. Okay. Then another practice is overcooking vegetables. This can lead to nutrient loss. When there's a prolonged cooking of your vegetables, vitamins, the water-soluble vitamin, the heat-soluble vitamins that I mentioned the other time, vitamin C, folate, they can easily be lost during that process. And for cooking of vegetables, the best method is steaming. And what I mean by steaming, whatever vegetable you are cooking, make sure you have added all the other ingredients. The vegetable will be the last, then you just add, stir, cover it and allow to steam. Cover and allow to steam. You can even turn off the heat, depending on the type of vegetable. You can turn on the heat immediately after adding it, so that the temperature that is already available in that pot will be sufficient to cook the vegetable, and it will still retain its properties, its nutrients. And if you look at this graph here, you see that the longer the cooking time for vegetables, the more nutrients, especially vitamin C, that is being lost. And vitamin C is a very powerful antioxidant that can mop up free radicals and prevent diseases. Then another practice is allowing cooking water, losing water from vegetables. For instance, I discovered that some people still blanch vegetables. I was surprised the day I saw it. Most of these things, they are things that we are aware of for a very long time, but I'm surprised some people still go into all these unhealthy practices while cooking. Some people still blanch vegetables, and after blanching, they will now boil again. When they blanch, they throw away the water. As they're throwing away that water, you are throwing away the nutrients that are present in the vegetables. In fact, if you want to make the best of the nutrients in vegetables, it's better you even wash before cutting, because when you cut, you are increasing the surface area. So eventually, when you now wash after cutting, you have increased that surface area, and there's tendency for more of the vitamin C to be lost and leached into the water. So if we're cooking any form of vegetable, we should try as much as possible to probably use steaming without adding boiling. No, I don't mean boiling. Boiling, you add water. So use steaming, you don't add water. But in a situation where you have to boil, then you can think of other ways of making use of the water. Instead of throwing it away, you can probably use it in making soups, or just design a way whereby you will not lose those nutrients. Then another practice is repeated heating. There are so many risks in repeated heating of foods. Due to the nature of work of most of us, everybody is busy. So you want to cook and keep food in the freezer. Even when you do this, I wouldn't say it's a wrong practice, but when you are heating that food, it shouldn't be such that you heat over and over again. For instance, if you cook stew and put it in the freezer, it shouldn't be that every time, you need on Monday, you pick the stew, warm it, and when you are done, you put it back in the freezer. On Tuesday, you pick it again, heat it. No, with that you eventually lose the nutrients. It would have been better that you have sectioned those the stew into smaller compartments such that when you pick one container, then you can make use of it and you don't necessarily have to heat every time that you need the food. So we should also avoid reheating all the time. Then reuse of cooking oil. When we reuse cooking oil, using it over and over again, it can polymerize the unsaturated fatty acids in those oil and turn it to trans fats. And trans fats, they are not good for our health. It can it's toxic and it can eventually lead to DNA damage that will then lead to cancer. So we need to be aware of all this, and here I would say that instead of making use of a deep fryer, it is healthier to make use of an air fryer. Though a deep fryer, you have to pour oil and a lot of oil, not just little. And most of the time, people will be like, oh, will I just use this oil once and that's the end? So they reuse and reuse and reuse again, and that is not healthy. So it's not a good practice to reuse cooking oil. It's better you use fresh oil while cooking. Then another practice is charring and burning of foods. When foods like meat, corn, suya, and we all know suya that we all love to take. All this has been exposed to smoke, especially when you are when you are roasting using the traditional method. It's not healthy at all. It can generate polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, and all these are carcinogens which can cause cancer. So instead of doing such, we can actually use roasting facilities or ovens that will not be exposed to smoke. You have gas ovens, even the air fryer, you can use it to prepare things like this. It's more healthier and you still derive the pleasure that you want from such foods. Okay, I think I've talked about this also. Smoked fish using the traditional method. Now, what are the healthy alternatives? If you're saying all those alternatives, they are not good enough. The other alternatives is one, steaming or blanching briefly of our vegetables. But let's be careful. When you blanch, you don't need to steam again. That will result in overcooking. So you just choose one of those methods for your vegetables. Then we should practice the use of fresh oil each time, at least as much as we can. Then let's always remember to refrigerate our food properly. And when we refrigerate and need to warm them, we shouldn't overheat, heating over and over again. We should also not discard our cooking water, especially when we use it for vegetables. And for our vegetables, we should use minimal cooking time, very, very minimal, so that you don't get the nutrients lost through the food processing. Now, as I conclude, I will say food is not only what we eat. It's not only just eating that matters, but it also matters the way you prepare that food. How do you process the food? How do you cook it? What are the practices? These are the things that will determine if the food will still retain its nutrients after cooking or after processing, or it would have exposed that food to some toxic substances that can eventually lead to chronic diseases. So we should adopt healthy cooking practices. Thank you.